who would have made this possible. We have here in the audience young women who are
I'm not talking about abuse. That's just a mistake. I'm just saying I'm
Hold on, Tony. Stay up. Stay up.
Good morning to you folks. JB here with you live on WFLA Now. This is one of several feeds that we have from live outside the Supreme Court of the United States in our nation's capital after the decision to overturn Roe v. Wade was made by the Supreme Court. Of course, we have all of our story details for you on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. hopping in here for a moment to remind our audience, whatever platform that you're watching on right now, whether it's Facebook Live, YouTube Live, a reminder to be kind and as courteous as possible in our Facebook Live comment section. We know that, of course, that there's going to be disagreements, fundamental disagreements that are going to be taking place with different sides and different opinions. As a reminder, just try to keep everything as respectful as possible in our comment section. That's something that we really try to encourage. We know that some of the news stories that we cover sometimes can bring out the emotions in people, and we just always do our very best to let folks know in our comment section to try to keep things as kind, as courteous, and as respectful as possible. You can disagree and still be respectful to folks on the other side of a particular disagreement or a particular argument. The Supreme Court releasing the Roe v. Wade decision to overturn it. This is a constitutional protection for abortion that has been in place for nearly 50 years. This now occurring with, of course, there being some changes made to the Supreme Court. 3 appointees of former President Donald Trump, of course, making this more a right-leaning Supreme Court, and something that was really, in large part, considered impossible, virtually impossible, a decade or so ago, has now come to fruition here in the year 2022. For those who are pro-life, there have been celebrations taking place here outside of the Supreme Court. And for those who are pro-choice, you've seen, I'm sure, a lot of folks displaying a lot of emotion. Tears are being shed here outside the Supreme Court. So it's a victory for some. It is a defeat for others. And we're seeing that played out here at the Supreme Court here in Washington, D.C. I want to show you, though, something, because cameras are located and positioned around several different spots of the Supreme Court building. And this is the camera shot that we have that is closest to the Supreme Court. But I want to show you this. The crowd isn't as... the crowd is very concentrated on one section of the building. This is a wider shot, and you can see that there is fewer people from this particular vantage point. A lot of reporters, members of the media that are now descending here to this particular area. But really, a lot of the activity is taking place in this section of the crowd here outside of the Supreme Court. So we'll stay here with you live. Again, as a reminder, be as respectful as possible in our Facebook Live, YouTube Live comment section as we, again, continue to cover this breaking news out of Washington, the Supreme Court overturning Roe v. Wade, ending constitutional protections for abortions, and now, of course, opening up new lanes of opportunity legally for states that choose to act in light of this federal decision. I will stay here with you live on WFLA Now across all platforms. This is live from outside the Supreme Court in our nation's capital.
Glory be to God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. Father, we are so thankful for this historic moment, this historic time in history. Father, we are thankful for your faithfulness. Thank you. We are thankful that you who created us treat everyone with dignity, equality, and respect. And Father, right now,
Am I going on? That's what I thought.
The camera for the network is in the crowd. We have a hard cam that's in a fiber that she's in front of right now. The camera, the Specials Network camera, is in the crowd with Maura Barrett. Okay. It's Olympia.
We pray for a nation in which innocent children are protected, in which all human life is honored and given equality.
Okay, come out a little more. Look right up here.
Okay.
So sometimes it won't even like boot up for camera. Yeah, look, there's only audio bars that show up. Nothing else on the display shows up sometimes. And it's really not intuitive. And I think it's that quality of the camera that's maybe connecting it to the live view. Sounds good. I mean, okay. I'll close that
Hey, man.
Jack, so Rick's going to grab a different camera. We've been troubleshooting for a while here. I think it's the live camera. It's for some reason that
You lost, baby killer! You lost! Don't cheat, baby! Don't
Oh, you want him out of the shot? Yeah, I got you. Yep. Thank you. Jose, are you going to me? Sorry. Yeah, it's sorry. It's really noisy here. The crowd has probably it's fivefold larger than it was before this decision was announced, and I'm sure it's going to grow as the day goes on. As you can see, we're surrounded by people on both sides of the issue, and we've seen members of Congress come down here. Marjorie Taylor Greene, the conservative member, came and had an impromptu prayer vigil. As you can see behind me, the black fencing is keeping people away from the court building itself, as it has for some time. But we're just seeing a really raucous scene here. As the Supreme Court has essentially reshaped American life over 2 days with a major gun decision yesterday, and obviously this removing the right to an abortion today. The crowds here are simply growing, Jose. Yeah, of course. I mean, look, the people who would come to a venue like this at a time like this tend to be the activists on both sides. So you have a lot of passion on both sides. You have a lot of signs and demonstrations and bullhorns. People are very passionate, obviously, about this outcome today on both sides. And so far, it's been largely peaceful. There's a huge retinue of law enforcement officers, probably that you can't see in this shot, but who are in the background here. Peaceful but raucous, Jose.
Really good.
Really?
Yeah, I know you say, are you coming to me? I got it, but I got a text message being like, yeah, I can, in the crowd. Amazing.
But I mean, I honestly don't know how to do this. It's like,
what do you mean, how to do this stuff? Just report. What are you seeing? What are you hearing?
this is like fake. These are the activists on both sides. This is, coming down here. It's sort of a manufactured event, Like if we interview somebody, they'll say something totally predictable. But I guess that's what they want, right?
Well, yeah, no, that's exactly what they want.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I hate to burst your bubble on that one.
Yeah, I know.
All right, do you want to try and get an interview?
Yeah, well, what about those Mississippi people? That would actually be kind of interesting.
Okay. Yeah. Let me stay put here.
Okay.
I'll bring them to you. Andy, stay with him.
Yeah, I will.
The Mississippi legislators who sponsored the original bill are here.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to try and find them.
Okay, great.
Hey there, everybody. JB. Let's bring down this audio. JB here with you live on WFLA Now. We're now going to take you live to House Speaker Nancy Pelosi speaking, addressing Roe v. Wade being overturned by the Supreme Court.
Of Donald Trump, Mitch McConnell, and the Republican Party, their supermajority in the Supreme Court, American women today have less freedom than their mothers. With Roe and their attempt to destroy it, radical Republicans are charging ahead with their crusade to criminalize health freedom. In the Congress, be aware of this, the Republicans are plotting a nationwide abortion ban. They cannot be allowed to have a majority in the Congress to do that, but that's their goal. And if you read, and again, we're all studying all this, but if you read what is in the very clear, one of the justices had his own statement. It's about contraception, in vitro fertilization, family planning. That is all what will spring from their decision that they made today. It's such a contradiction. Yesterday, they say the states cannot make laws governing the constitutional right to bear arms. And today, they're saying the exact reverse, that the states can overturn a constitutional right for 50 years, a constitutional right for a woman having the right to choose. The hypocrisy is raging, but the harm is endless. What this means to women is such an insult. It's a slap in the face to women about using their own judgment to make their own decisions about their reproductive freedom. And again, it goes well. I always have said the termination of a pregnancy is just their opening act. It's just their front game. But behind it, and for years, I have seen in this Congress opposition to any family planning, domestic or global, when we have had those discussions and those debates and those votes on the floor of the House. This is deadly serious, but we are not going to let this pass. A woman's right to choose, reproductive freedom, is on the ballot in November. We cannot allow them to take charge so that they can institute their goal, which is to criminalize reproductive freedom, to criminalize it. Right now, they're saying in states that they can arrest doctors and all the rest. What is happening here? What is happening here? Woman's fundamental health decisions are her own to make in consultation with her doctor, her faith, her family, not some right-wing politicians that Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell packed the court with. While Republicans seek to punish and control women, Democrats will keep fighting ferociously to enshrine Roe v. Wade into the law of the land. This cruel ruling is outrageous and heart-wrenching, but make no mistake, again, it's all on the ballot in November. The Supreme Court has ended a constitutional right. This is 50 years proclaimed a constitutional right. What happened today was historic in many respects. Historic in that it had not recognized a constitutional right and then reversed it. This is a first. And again, just before it imposed a constitutional right to allow for concealed weapons. How about those justices coming before the senators and saying that they respected, stare decisis, the precedent of the court, that they respected the right of privacy in the Constitution of the United States? Did you hear that? Were they not telling the truth then? Again, just getting to the gun issue, because really, in preparation for this morning, I was really in an exalted state about what happened in the United States Senate yesterday. Counterpoint to the dangerous decision of this Trumpian Supreme Court that they made yesterday, but a way to take us to, as the bill is called, community safety. The Bipartisan Safer Communities Act. Right now, and I'm going to have to leave momentarily because we're just finished voting on the rule, we will be debating the bill on the floor, and we expect a good bipartisan vote on it in the House. We congratulate the Senate on the work that they have done and the timeliness of it to be passed in the Senate in a strong bipartisan way on a day when the court made such a dangerous decision. Many of our House Democrats' proposals that are included in this package are that keep deadly weapons out of dangerous hands by encouraging states to establish extreme risk protection order laws, ERPO, otherwise known as red flag laws, help put end to straw purchases, close the boyfriend loophole. So many good things are in there. And it's not everything that we want, and we must keep moving toward background checks, but universal background checks, which will save the most lives. But this will save lives. And to listen to Lucy McGrath and other family members of those who have lost their loved ones, this is a giant step forward. Maybe not so much a giant, but a strong step forward. And if it's good enough for them, then we rejoice in passing it. As I say to members all the time with legislation, do not judge it for what isn't in it, but respect it for what is. And there's much to be respected in this legislation. On a happier note, yesterday we celebrated 50 years of Title IX, which has transformed equality and opportunity in our country. Are you familiar with the words of Title IX? Yesterday we had Billie Jean King here once again celebrating Title IX, unveiling a portrait of Patsy Mink, who is the author in the House, working with Birch Bayh in the Senate to make this the law of the land. And this is what it says. No person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any education program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. Again, in honor of this anniversary, we unveiled a portrait which will hang in the halls. It's about our she's actually the first woman of color to serve in the Congress, so she's honored for her first, but also for what she accomplished. We already have painting of Shirley Chisholm, the first African-American woman, and for her many accomplishments here. And of course, Jeanette Rankin, the first woman ever to serve in the Congress. That's our first series. So, again, we're working on the Competes Act and lowering cost, and the Competes Act is part of that. Lower families' cost, energize manufacturing, and strengthen America's competitiveness now and in the future. I think we seem to be able to find our areas of agreement where we have some negotiating to do and some things that we may have to save for another day. The real question is, do the Republicans in the Senate really want America to be independent? Do they really want to bring back jobs, to make it in America and allocate the resources to make sure that happens, especially with chips, which are so important to our manufacturing in our own country? So that is very important. Competes is a pillar of our work to lower costs, but we're proud of other steps we have taken, lowering gas prices by cracking down on big oil's price gouging and the Consumer Fuel Price Gouging Prevention Act, lowering food costs and taking further action to lower gas costs with the Lower Food and Fuel Cost Act, lowers fertilizer costs for farmers, reduces meat and poultry prices for families by increasing competition there, and lowers cost at the pump with cheaper, cleaner American unleaded 88. I'm very proud of the work of our members who are so responsible for this, and lowering the cost of everyday goods by passing the Open Shipping Reform Act. In every one of these categories where we have taken action, corporate America, and I don't paint them all with the same brush, but corporate America, some, have been there to exploit the consumer. Their business plan is to increase profits at the expense of the consumer. And that is part of what is contributing to inflation. Inflation is global now, but some of it is exacerbated by this. And if you see the profits from the shipping industry, and again, the supply chain issues are related to shipping issues. So again, we're very proud of the work that we've done. We believe that some of it has a prospect in the Senate. I just want to close, because I'm really going to have to go to the floor, by talking about what the President talked about in the State of the Union address. And we're so proud of the President. He has been a champion on gun violence prevention for such a long time, instrumental in the original Brady bill in 1994, which I was happy to support. I was a whip for that. Took a while to do. We didn't win even on the first votes on the rule for it. But in any event, he has been a champion in that regard. In the State of the Union address, he talked about a unity agenda and had 4 parts to it. It was about our veterans, it was about mental health, it was about cancer, and it was about opioids. And soon we will send the President, in terms of veterans, the PACT Act to the President's desk. It's historic. It's something.
We're now going to take you back live to outside the Supreme Court. We have a live stream coming up where we're going to be featuring some of your comments here on WFLA Now. Stand by.
Expose veterans. Expose.
You don't actually see anything.
Let's do it here and see what it looks like.
WFLA Now will begin momentarily. WFLA Now will begin momentarily. Breaking news on WFLA Now. Here's JB Buno.
The Supreme Court overturns Roe v. Wade in a historic landmark decision, sending shockwaves throughout the political spectrum here in the United States and here throughout the crowd outside the SCOTUS building in our nation's capital. We have analysis on the impact specifically here in Florida on WFLA Now. Hey there, folks. JB here with you live on WFLA Now. As a reminder, as we begin our live stream, we are going to be featuring your questions, your comments. We're activating some polls here as well. We want to hear from you as we get this massive decision here from the Supreme Court of the United States. As we begin to start to feature some of your questions with our hashtag system, as a reminder, please keep things as kind, as considerate, and as respectful as possible in our Facebook Live and YouTube Live comment section. You can disagree and still be respectful. Bring in now our political anchor here, joining us now live on WFLA Now, Evan Donovan for the first time in our streaming coverage today. Evan, we're going to talk about Florida specifically in just a moment, but of course you've been talking about this for many, many months. Really, especially since the leak came out, and we'll talk about that more a little bit later on, but just initially your reaction to this decision from the Supreme Court of the United States.
It's hard to overstate the decision today. I mean, this will fundamentally reshape American society and certainly Americans' views of their own constitutional rights. There's a separate opinion that Justice Clarence Thomas wrote that looks to possibly call other rights into question that may go just beyond abortion. But I think today's ruling really, while not unexpected, the leak certainly let us know that this day was coming. But I think it's still going to be a shock to a lot of people to see that happened. A shock, I think, even whether you support abortion rights or not. I think, some people thought that after the leak came out, the justices might back off of their decision. Others thought that it would only harden their resolve to return this issue to the states. But I think the most important things you can remember are sort of what the decision says. Let's talk about it overarchingly. So first and foremost, the case in front of them was a Mississippi law that forbid abortions after 15 weeks of pregnancy. Florida passed a law almost identical to it in this past legislative session because they knew that this was the law in front of the Supreme Court. And if it overturned it, then Florida's law would stand. That law, by the way, set to take effect on July 1st, and now will do so with the overturning of Roe here. So this ruling effectively undoes Roe and cases that followed after it, like Planned Parenthood v. Casey, which was in the early 90s, and returns the issue to the states. So, one of the things about our system of government that's very unique, that makes us different from other countries, and certainly I think would be argued, and certainly is argued by the governor all the time, helps protect Americans' rights, is our system of federalism. So states obviously are their own entities, and they have their own laws and their own ability to regulate their own states. And then there's an overarching federal government that is intended to be limited in power and do only certain things per the Constitution. So this now returns the issue to the states. What does that mean? Well, in New York, they passed a law a few years ago enshrining, the right for a woman to get an abortion, well into the second trimester. Florida's law, which will ban them now after 15 weeks, will be allowed to go into effect. Oklahoma has a law that basically will outlaw abortion entirely. Those patchwork of laws will now continue to be allowed, or will now be allowed throughout the nation. And so depending on where you live will depend on what your abortion rights are.
We are going to feature some of your comments now, and we're going to talk about Florida here specifically and more in detail with Evan here in just a second. We just want to make it clear that, of course, that we're going to be featuring some of your comments and your questions, provided that, of course, that they don't contain any inappropriate language. You know that emotions are running high on a day like today. Clearly, emotions running high enough for people to be pouring out in the streets of Washington, D.C., but I want to just give you a sample of some of the comments that we already have pouring into our comment section. Jay Warrington, #HeyJB, in support of this decision, saying, thank God our country did something morally right. And then we have this one coming in from Melissa Coffee, #HeyJB, just more proof that women do not have any rights over their own body. We are going to be talking more about some of the questions in the comments coming in. We also have our poll results that are going to be coming up here in just a few moments. We're live across all platforms, Facebook Live, and hello to our YouTube Live audience as well. Evan, Leah, let's talk. Okay, this now depends on where you live in the United States. And we do have an international audience joining us on YouTube. So this decision, of course, is now going to have different impacts depending on which state you reside in, where you are. So here in Florida, of course, you and I located here at WFLA in Florida. Can you explain in more detail what Governor DeSantis's position is on this, what has been enacted, and when this 15-week law will actually go into effect.
Right, so it will go into effect on July 1st. That is a week from now, and obviously because of this ruling, there will be no impediment to it going into place. Florida's ban is on nearly all pregnancies after 15 weeks of gestation. That is a period that is just after the first trimester has ended. It's a period at which less than 6% of abortions in the state of Florida actually take place, according to state statistics. So almost entirely all abortions, 94%, take place in the first trimester. This is even 2 to 3 weeks into the second trimester, so you can imagine that number is even lower, but they don't have specific stats on after 15 weeks. The state doesn't. It does not make any exceptions for rape, incest, or human trafficking. That was a very controversial part of the passage of this law. And effectively only makes exceptions for the health of the mother or several other very specific exceptions. A fatal fetal abnormality would be another one, when there's something wrong with the fetus and it is not expected to survive. Again, goes into effect next week. You'll have a number of different issues with it on the state level because unlike the U.S. Constitution, which is interpreted by the Supreme Court, and this decision at 6-3, the 6 conservative justices on one side and the more liberal justices on the other, the state Supreme Court will be interpreting state law. And the Constitution in Florida enshrines a right to privacy. That right to privacy has been interpreted by state court judges to allow women to get an abortion. So how that now gets challenged in court will be very interesting. The new state law is already planning to be challenged in state court and in federal court. The federal court challenge may not go anywhere, right? Because we now have a federal court ruling saying on this issue, states will be to determine the law. So in Florida, it's what happens on the state court challenge level that could dictate what your abortion rights are. However, it's important to note, just as the U.S. Supreme Court has become much more conservative and is now 6-3 basically in conservatives to liberal justices, the state Supreme Court has similarly had a shift rightward. 7 justices on that court, 5 of them will have been appointed by DeSantis by the end of the year. So not just conservative judges, but also justices who were put on the state court by the current governor, who obviously was instrumental in pushing this law banning most abortions after 15 weeks. So the tide certainly seems to be going against abortion rights, not just on the national level, but I would think that most Democrats in the state would think that that is in danger now in the state level as well.
I want to bring up some specific questions pertaining to Florida here in just a moment. Really quickly, we've got some folks asking. They want their voice to be heard, and we're getting a lot of questions about our Facebook Live poll, how the Facebook Live poll works, and we've gotten already in, I think, 600, 700, or 800 votes now. We're very, very quickly getting to 1,000 votes, and we will display those results here in just a second. But it takes, just join us on Facebook Live for 3 or 4 minutes, and then the poll will pop up on your screen automatically. That's usually how it works. If you don't see it after that amount of time, just leave the stream, come right back, and you should see it animate on your phone, tablet, or computer. YouTube Live, we also have a stream going, a poll going in our stream as well. That's also something that we're going to be talking about here in just a moment. We want to hear what you have to say, and we want to answer your questions. Okay, I have questions for Evan here. Starting July 1st, if a woman in the state of Florida is past that 15-week point, does not qualify for any of the exceptions that we're talking about, and goes to get an abortion in the state of Florida, what happens?
After July 1st?
After July 1st.
That procedure will be illegal.
It will be illegal to do so.
Well, I think
and it's illegal. It's illegal for it to be performed. It's illegal for it to be conducted. And it is then what? Can you prosecute somebody for breaking the law if that does in fact happen?
Yes, I would have to look at what the criminal provisions are in that statute, because I don't think they changed those. So that wasn't part of the law that was adjusted. But I'd have to go back and look. Yes, I think that. What will happen if the challenge hasn't been filed already in court, then it will be, sometimes in order to challenge a law, you have to wait for it to go into effect. So I will have to check and make sure there's no challenge to the law right now. If there's not, you can expect one on July 1st, because once the law is in effect, then you have standing to challenge the law. So what happens then in state court is that usually there would be a hearing to determine whether or not there should be an injunction against the state's new law. And depending on how that judge rules will depend on whether women can get an abortion. But I would say waking up on the morning of July 1st, if there was a woman who wanted to go get an abortion, I don't think that procedure would be legal.
Let's get to just a couple. I have a
And
follow-up.
clearly with the disclaimer, obviously, that I'm not an attorney and we would have to talk to one, but that is what the law states.
When I'm looking over here, folks, on this screen, I am looking at your Facebook Live and YouTube Live comments. That's where my attention is focused right now. And if you use hashtag HeyJB, it just kind of is brighter on my screen and I can see it more and I can animate it. Hashtag Hey Evan as well. Jane Salisbury, hashtag HeyJB. Finally, common decency for our country. The rights for unborn has spoken. Thank you, Supreme Court. This was a garbage law, in the words of Jane Salisbury. Jamie Vega, hashtag HeyJB. This decision is going to bring in a big uproar in the women's rights in this country. It is a sad day for women and girls all over this country. Just some of the competing arguments that we are seeing. My follow-up question pertaining to Florida, because of course we're hyper-focused on Florida, hyper-focused in the Tampa Bay area. If a woman after July 1st, Evan, is past that 15 weeks, doesn't qualify for any of the exceptions under the law that has been passed here in the state of Florida, can that woman who is desperately seeking an abortion, can that woman drive to another state where abortion is still legal, get in her car, make the road trip, go there, and have the abortion performed in a different state?
Yes.
And that is still legal under the law.
Mm-hmm.
So
For now. There have been several state laws well, let me back up. There's been at least one state law that was introduced, Missouri, I believe, that would have tried to criminalize leaving the state for that purpose. That gets into a whole bunch of legal issues.
Sure. Anytime you're crossing state lines and
not just that, but like limiting people's movement. I mean, that,
sure,
that's very difficult. This is a free country. So that would be very difficult and was met with a lot of outrage, obviously. But who knows? I mean, that's the whole point here. I think federalism is really an interesting system because in our country, depending on where you go, the laws are different, and most of the time they're sort of unique and things that you don't really think about a whole lot. But certainly if you are a gun owner, it's something that you think about a lot because the laws differ so much from state to state. And this will be now something else, the right to have an abortion, that I think will factor into some people's decisions about where they want to live.
There's an interesting sort of side sort of story to this in that during the pandemic we had just probably a countless number of folks from northern states. I'm talking about New York. During the pandemic that left New York to move down to Florida. I know so many personally. I know that we've covered stories about people moving from New York to Florida. And so now the states are different in so many ways from a climate perspective, from a weather perspective. Of course, you're not dealing with snow in Florida. You're getting rays of sunshine, but most of the year. But you're also talking about complete different ends now of the political spectrum. Florida used to be, and we've talked about this so much on Battleground Florida in the past, Florida very much used to be more of a purple state, and we have noticed this trend of late, of course, it going more in the red direction. We've got Governor DeSantis and a completely conservative, completely GOP-controlled legislature here in the state of Florida. So there's also that sort of interesting. I'm curious in the Tampa Bay area to hear from people that are new Floridians that are now going to be falling under this law here in the state of Florida. One that was just, when did DeSantis sign that? It was just a few weeks ago, was it not, or a couple months ago?
A month or two.
Yeah, this is all
within
happening.
The last 2 months.
This is all happening within just like a 60-day period, pretty much.
And important to note, that's not an accident. Legislators knew coming into the session that the Dobbs case, which is the Mississippi 15-week abortion ban law, was up in front of the Supreme Court. It had been argued in early December, so they knew coming into the session in January that you'd expect a decision sometime in June. Of course, we got that leaked draft of the opinion a couple of months ago, but they knew this would be happening, and most laws go into effect on July 1st. It's when the funding for the new fiscal year comes into effect, and so that's where they set those dates on most laws. Obviously, some laws go into effect as soon as they're passed. Some have a specific date, but I'm just speaking in general. And so that's why that 15-week ban was passed. And really, it was never in doubt that once the bill was introduced that it was going to get passed. There was some talk going into the session, and in fact a bill was introduced to mimic that Texas law that's kind of odd, the one that bans abortions after 6 weeks, but then criminalizes people who assist in the abortion and is not enforced by any state actors, but has to be brought by a citizen, a civil action against another citizen. That was the precursor that we saw to this decision coming, by the way, because the court last summer and in the early fall upheld that Texas law, initial challenges to it, on certain aspects of the law. And so that was what sort of foretold that the court was really going to act in this direction on this abortion ruling. But I think the severity of the decision is also worth considering here. I mean, it entirely erases the right to an abortion federally, returns the issue to the states. But some justices are now calling for even more rights to be rolled back. I mean, I mentioned earlier, Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas is saying now that future cases should look at any substantive rights that Americans have through the Due Process Clause of the Constitution. And he specifically included Griswold, Lawrence, and Obergefell. For those people who don't watch the court, Obergefell is the right to gay marriage. Lawrence was the right to have sexual relations of any kind you want with consenting adults in your own home. And Griswold was the right for contraception. So we have a Supreme Court justice saying that there may not be a substantive right for you to take birth control. That's a pretty severe shift to the right.
I want to feature some of the comments, saying hello specifically to our YouTube live audience. We're going to come back to Facebook in just a second. Elizabeth commenting right back at you, what you were talking about a few moments ago, saying hashtag Hey Evan, correction, this was a free country is the comment here from Elizabeth on the WFLA YouTube page. And then we have this one from David Queenan, hashtag Hey JB. Meanwhile, behind David's comment, we've got just a raucous crowd here, a very emotionally charged crowd outside of the Supreme Court. We were just seeing an anti-abortion celebration take place with bubbles. Yeah, there are the bubbles flying about. It is a very interesting scene. Of course, as you would expect with such a historic landmark decision, there'd be something wrong with this country if we didn't see victory celebrations and also, people outraged outside. I mean, this is, of course, democracy.
It's your First Amendment
work.
right.
It's your First Amendment right to express yourself, and they're doing so right outside the Supreme Court of the United States. That is live in the center of your screen. Yeah, David's question. I'll read it for people maybe just listening. Hashtag KJB. Talk about insurance ramifications with traveling across state lines, because we were just talking about this earlier about could somebody in Florida post July 1st just drive to a state. The state that David is referencing here is Massachusetts. Will Florida insurance have to deny a procedure in, say, Massachusetts?
So this is the weakness of having two men talking about this issue right now. I have never had to get an abortion or look into even the possibility of it. And so I don't even know what the insurance ramifications are within the state, David. So like if you said that so right now, while you still have the right in the state of Florida to get one, if you went to get one now, is it covered by insurance? I don't know the answer to that question. So I certainly don't know the answer to the question about what happens when you travel across state lines. But it is an excellent question.
Let's get to one. And our poll results in like 60 seconds, I promise. I want to clear YouTube and go back to Facebook. One just came in. Again, Shelly Greenleaf saying, hashtag JB, put the poll back up so that I can vote. You just leave the stream, come right back, and it should animate on your screen. But Ashley saying, hashtag JB, I'm confused about this. So you can get abortions now? What is the law? So we were just talking about Florida. Every one of the 50 states is going to have, of course, a different set of laws that will be taking effect or have been, or trigger laws that will be triggered into effect. We will try to listen to this for just a second. Let's just bring up this sound for just a moment.
Describe.
This is a live interview from outside the Supreme Court.
And please be aware, folks, that we are taking this live. There may be some language. You have to be careful when you are watching right now. We want to make sure if you have sensitive ears nearby, we don't know what this woman is going to say.
Viewer discretion advised.
And we are just flooded with joy, flooded with pure excitement. We are so happy and excited that finally, after 50 years of abortion violence, the Supreme Court has finally said that that there is no constitutional right to abortion. There never was, and there never will be. And so we rejoice with the 6-3 ruling that Dobbs v. Jackson, the historic case that had the opportunity to right the egregious wrong of abortion, finally did its job. And so we are so thankful.
How grateful are you that they went that full distance?
So there you see and hear some of the folks who are celebrating this monumental decision in United States politics, and we'll continue to try to listen in to the scene outside of the Supreme Court. But Ashley, to answer your question, Evan just pretty much answered it a short time ago. Here in Florida, July 1st is when we have a law going into effect, one that was passed by the of course, legislature here in Florida. Evan, do you need to take a phone call?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is what the law is right now, Ashley. If you want to get an abortion right now, or you know someone who wants to get an abortion now, in the state of Florida, you can. Up until right now would be the age of viability, which would be somewhere around 24 weeks. If you live in another state, because I'm not sure where Ashley is, obviously it would depend on what the state laws are right now. But if we are talking about Florida, you have that right for the next week. What happens on July 1st is the new law will go into effect. I would expect an immediate court challenge, and then you'll see. We would have to see what happens.
And I'm glad that Evan saw this question differently, because I saw what's the law now, like as in what's the law now going forward, not right now as in today, June 24th. So we read that differently, but that's good. That's good that we can.
Tells me that she's curious about right now, and I
exactly.
think look. Again, two men on this panel, so let's just take a moment to understand. There are women right now in the state of Florida and around the nation who may be pregnant and were thinking about getting an abortion. That may not even know that they are pregnant and would want to get an abortion, and this will drastically impact their lives. I just want to take a moment to just explain. We need to make sure we understand that this, more than maybe any other Supreme Court ruling in our lifetimes, will drastically impact people's daily lives in a way, maybe that no other decision has.
Okay, so let's get to the poll results here. B. Abernathy asking, where is the Facebook poll? You can go to the WFLA Facebook page. I think you can also go to the WFLA JB Facebook page. Either or, you should be able to see a poll pop up on your device, and you can vote in that poll. Let me just quickly, before we go to the Facebook Live poll results, we have the YouTube Live poll results. And the YouTube Live is very interesting, because YouTube Live, we have a lot of folks that join us on YouTube Live from around the world. It's less Florida focused and more of a national and international audience. So we asked the same question across Facebook and YouTube. I can't animate YouTube on your screen, but I will tell you the poll results. And the question was, do you support today's Supreme Court decision? And 47% say yes, 53% say no. Very, very, very close. We got about 600 votes in that poll. And again, if you're joining us on YouTube Live, you should see it populate on your screen. It's 53% saying no. So a slight majority of our YouTube audience saying no, they do not support the decision to overturn.
That's the YouTube audience.
Roe v. Wade, yes.
And what have you seen?
And let's go to Facebook. You want to go to Facebook?
What have you seen politically on the YouTube audience?
It's all over the place.
Because we know from doing these polls, our Facebook polls tend to skew right.
Yep.
Our Twitter polls tend to skew left. And YouTube, we don't know.
Is somewhere in between.
Okay.
It is. And it's a little bit more scattered because our audience is more scattered.
Good. Well, that's good. So it may be a better representation.
Interesting. Let's get to the Facebook Live poll. These results are going to be updating on your screen. We'll leave these up for a few minutes. Do you support today's Supreme Court decision? 59% say no, 41% say yes.
Oh, and that's the Facebook poll.
That's the Facebook poll.
Wow.
Which is, again, as Evan just noted, tends to skew more right on Facebook. Twitter tends to skew more left.
Well, look, if you think about it, that actually tracks with public polling. Most people do support Roe v. Wade. In polling after polling, people support the right of women to get an abortion. They have it's one issue where they have very specific opinions on it. So when you start breaking it down into at what week do people support it, et cetera, and for what reasons, like rape, incest, et cetera, then it gets a lot more, complicated with polling questions. But general overall polling about the support of Roe v. Wade is usually a majority.
I should have mentioned this a long time ago, and apologies that I missed this, but our digital content team just passed along a note to me a short time ago saying the President of the United States, President Joe Biden, will be addressing the nation at approximately 12:30 Eastern Time. That is 50 minutes from right now. So in less than an hour, sometimes he's going to address the nation sometime around 12:30, and of course we will stay here with you live. Evan, of course you have a lot of experts to talk to in preparation for our newscast tonight on WFLA News Channel 8, so you just let me know what your schedule is.
Well,
and
obviously I'll be back. I mean, we're gonna need to watch that, so we should probably, we probably should wrap up, JB, in a few minutes here and then come back for that, right?
Okay, yeah, let's try to maybe get to
we're
as
doing
many
live programming on air, folks, but
we
that's
have
what we should do.
TV, we have
gonna be
online,
a lot today, so
a lot going on.
Yeah.
We have just eclipsed 2,000 votes in our Facebook Live poll, and that's live on your screen. 59% saying no, 41% saying yes. I have to check our numbers. I also do believe that our Facebook audience does tend to skew more female than male, but for what it's worth, those are the live numbers here on your screen. Let's get to some of the. Let's look now for as many Facebook Live and YouTube Live comments as possible. We've got a bunch of folks joining us. Let's take Janice's comment. And I'm glad to see that we have 1, 2, 3 of the comments we've had so far. We're getting a lot of comments from women. It's great to see some of the some of our female audience really speaking up here and trying to. I'm seeing so many hashtag AJB, hashtag Evan comments and questions. We'll try to get to as many of them as possible. Got to put away the poll. Let's put away the poll and let's go. Whoa, I thought I did. Hold on. Come on, poll. We got a lot of folks joining us. Janice Holtzclaw, hashtag AJB, just shows you how short-sighted this court is, sending women back into the 19th century. Figures. Nancy Pelosi was the first person that we had on our live stream speaking as far as a public official. Governor DeSantis, by the way, let me show you this, everybody. I'm going to hit a couple things here on the touchscreen. You want to know where Governor DeSantis is if you're curious about what he has to say regarding this. Governor DeSantis right now is in Surfside. This is the anniversary of the Surfside condominium collapse. We were live streaming that, and then Roe v. Wade broke. There is DeSantis right there to the left of the podium. Very curious, of course, I'm sure. He's going to have comments, I would imagine, at some point. This is clearly not the time nor the place at this spot in Surfside to be talking about a Supreme Court decision. However, I would imagine that he is going to be releasing a statement. Has he released a statement? Has his team released a statement, Evan, that you're aware of? Or has he tweeted anything out? But I think that it's very much expected that Governor DeSantis is going to be in favor of this Supreme Court decision. That, again, isn't a surprise because of the leak that occurred several months back. There's a couple of other notes that I had here as well, and there is just a massive separation, Evan, on the Supreme Court that perhaps we could talk about if we have time. If we don't, I want to focus on as many questions and comments that we have coming in. So I'm going to look for some, as Evan here looks for anything from DeSantis, I'm going to look for some more hashtag AJ. Yeah, this is a great question. I have a great question coming in. But Evan,
I was just going to say that, they're in the middle of the Surfside remembered ceremony that you're watching right there, and so I think at least members of the comms team are there too. I'll see what I can get, what I can do.
Yeah, Kimberly asking hashtag HeyJB. This is a great question. Is there any way we can fight this overturn?
I think the best way to do that, Kimberly, if depending on that's how you feel, is
what's the checks and balances system for the Supreme Court? Is there any what power do the people out there that are outraged by this decision? We have the victorious side, the outraged side. The people that are outraged, I mean, what power do they have as far as the aftermath of this decision?
To break it down, if you don't agree with this decision, it has now put the power back in the state's hands, so you would want to vote for state legislators who feel the same way you do, whichever way that is. That's the way to fight back on this issue, because the court is now taking a stance that the Constitution does not protect your right to an abortion. So, look,
the power of the
here
vote,
is that 50
right?
years ago, a decision came down that enshrined the right to have an abortion, and now 50 years later, it's being taken away. So how can I say with any sort of certainty that this decision is not going to be overturned by a more liberal court that may take hold in a few years? Who knows? I think that's the problem with today's decision, and the reason why in 1992 the justices on the court in Planned Parenthood v. Casey affirmed Roe v. Wade, because their stance at the time was, even though there were some conservative justices then on the court who didn't agree or sort of signaled that they didn't agree with Roe v. Wade, they said, look, this is the law of the land and has been for 20 years. We can't get in the middle of it and overturn a right that people have arranged their lives around. Fast forward 30 years later, and that's exactly what just happened today. And so that principle of stare decisis is starting to have less and less meaning at the Supreme Court.
Ardo here on YouTube, just to follow up on what can people do? Who can the most powerful person in our country, can the president of the United States do anything? Ardo saying, I wish Biden will take immediate action to write legislation supporting the abortion on a federal level. I don't think he has the authority for an executive order, but I do hope he has. Hashtag HJB, hashtag Hey Evan.
All right, so let's address that. So first and foremost, I don't know if he has the power through an executive order either. I would not imagine that he does, but I'm sure they're looking into it right now in the White House if they haven't already. But I doubt it. Secondly would be action to support legislation. We just heard from Speaker Pelosi that they're going to enshrine the right to Roe v. Wade in the House, but it won't pass the Senate, so it doesn't matter.
Right. I'm curious. I need to go back to the days of being in school and learning about, the fallout of massive Supreme Court decisions, because this is going to be the one for the textbooks. This is one for the history books. This is a date that people are going to remember. This is June 24, 2022, and where this goes from here, and really the response from both sides is going to be, from a legal perspective, it's going to be fascinating. But really, I think, Evan, going back to what you were just talking about, what it really comes down to are these individual states now, and what these states are going to do. And as you noted earlier with Governor DeSantis here in the state of Florida, this is something that was foreseen ahead of time. It's by no accident that this is going into effect on July 1st, the 15-week abortion ban here in the state of Florida. So Kim Wade, hashtag HJB, what can we do to overturn this in Florida? What power does Floridians have specifically, Evan?
Well, in the state of Florida,
or is it
because
just back to the power of the vote?
Legislators just passed this into law in the past legislative session. If you don't agree with it, then you have to vote in state-level races. And I think people are starting to understand now, and they definitely will even more so with this ruling, that your state government has a lot more impact on your daily life than the federal government does, and who the president is. I think people in Florida definitely understand that since Governor DeSantis came into town. So now, and I say that because a lot of people, when they vote, don't bother voting in those down ballot races, is what they call it. You always see the president at the top, and your congressman, or the governor. But
those votes matter.
Yeah,
they
down the ballot,
do.
they matter a ton. That's my point. They matter more to your life than the president does. In fact, one could argue you really should flip the ballot upside down
and start with the
local stuff.
Start local, then county, then state, and then federal.
I got to be honest. Especially constitutional amendments that you're voting on. In 2020, I remember, or 2018. Yeah, it was 2018 after the Constitutional Revision Commission. There were so many of them, and they were all at the bottom of the ballot. So there was some fatigue. People didn't get to them, and important issues got decided.
And those were I remember we did so much coverage on those constitutional amendments. Those were so important. And you're right, they were dead last on every ballot.
So to answer your question, whether you agree with this decision or not, go to the polls and vote for your state legislators. That's what matters, and they will have a big impact on your life, state senators and state representatives.
Evan, we're going to let you get going because we know that you got a lot to do for our newscast tonight on WFLA News Channel 8. But, of course, I want to give you the final word here before we let you go. Your take on where this goes from here and what you're going to be watching out for and who you're going to be speaking with here in the hours ahead.
Well, I think the interesting thing is how far right are Florida legislators going to go? There were many in the state legislature that wanted to pass an outright ban on abortion in this past legislative session. So for them on the right, the 15-week ban was a compromise. So it is possible now, given the tide that we're seeing in other states that have conservative legislatures, and with this decision from the Supreme Court, you could see anything. You could see a special session called by the governor to outlaw abortion in Florida altogether. You don't know. I mean, we don't know yet what we could see, or they could, be content with the 15-week ban and see where that takes us. I think the following days and weeks are going to be very interesting to see how the state reacts. And I've already got, obviously, reaching out to contacts to see if any of those changes might be coming.
Evan Donovan, folks, you can follow him at Evan Donovan on Twitter. What are some of your other social media handles we can shout out here,
WFLA Evan, pretty much everywhere else.
Yeah, follow him, folks, on social media platforms as he continues to cover this over the course of the day, especially with Florida's impact and what's going to be enacted or going into effect on July 1st. Evan, we'll catch you tonight on WFLA News Channel 8. Thanks so much.
Sounds good.
All right. Back here with you live, folks. Let me just kind of explain where this goes from here from our coverage perspective. President Joe Biden will be speaking around 12:30. We're going to be ending our Facebook stream here in just a moment. Not just yet. We have one more thing to show you. But President Biden is going to be speaking at 12:30. We'll be launching on Facebook Live for that moment when he walks up to the podium to address the nation in the aftermath of Roe v. Wade being overturned. YouTube Live audience, don't go anywhere. We're going to stay here with you live with a live feed from outside of the courthouse. But one more time, I'd like to show you, as we now get up to 2,500 votes on Facebook Live, asking our audience, do you support today's Supreme Court decision? This is a unscientific social media poll, but the results are interesting nonetheless because they're coming directly from you. They're coming directly from our viewers here on Facebook Live. So this is Facebook Live. 59% say no, they do not support today's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. 41% saying they do, in fact, support this decision. Interesting poll results here on Facebook Live. Going back to YouTube for a second, which I can't animate on screen, but I can read for you way closer. It's also more no's than yeses, but it is a 48 to 52 split. So almost a coin flip for our YouTube audience, which again is a little bit more scattered across the country and really around the world. We've got folks joining us on the YouTube page from, let us know on YouTube. This will actually be a good exercise to our YouTube audience specifically. Why don't you tell us where you're watching from right now? And I'll just shout out some of the places. Are you joining us from Tampa Bay? Are you joining us from Florida? Are you joining us from another state in the country, or are you joining us internationally from somewhere abroad? Let us know in the YouTube Live comment section, and I'll pose this same exercise. Why not? Let's pose our same exercise just here for the poll's purpose. Where you're watching from. Are you joining us from Tampa Bay? Let us know if you're joining us from the state of Florida, another state, or another country here around the world. And I'll just shout out just a couple of different places so we get a better sense of where you're watching from. Cammed Up Caveman is joining us from Zephyr Hills. Of course, that's right here in our area. We've got Christine joining us from North Carolina. Susan joining us from Alabama. Just going over YouTube really quickly. Justice for Summer is joining us from Sarasota. That's, I would imagine, for Summer Wells. Joy Morris is watching from Mobile, Alabama, my old stomping grounds. We've got, here, if you use the hashtag, I can put it up on your screen as well. And again, this is just for the purpose of us understanding where our poll votes are coming from. So, wow, they're coming in fast. We're trying to click on them. Georgina is joining us from Georgia with hashtag KJP. We've got Hart joining us from Texas, Miss Deb, Arizona. Joshua is joining us from Baltimore, Maryland. And then we've got Paul joining us from Manchester, England. So I think a lot of the folks that we have on YouTube, just starting with YouTube here for a moment, the folks that are joining us on YouTube, a lot of it being an American audience from what I'm seeing, not seeing too much from international. We've got TJ joining us from Poland, Mackie joining from Chicago, Illinois. Mad Max is joining us from Elkton, Maryland. I'm just seeing this. So has the Supreme Court done a press release, or did they go live? The Supreme Court's not really in the business of doing press releases. They release decisions, and the 200 30-something page decision has been published. It is a long, scholarly read, and you can read the decision for yourself. And as it pertains to, of course, the Mississippi abortion law that was passed, but that document is, of course, it'll be on social media. I've already taken a look at it. It's impossible to have read by now all 230 pages, but it is there in totality. So no press release, but you can read the decision for yourself. If you're somebody who studies law, especially, that might be especially interesting for you. Looking for some other, we've got Anne Marie joining us from Massachusetts. We've got Kelly joining us from Michigan. And then look, here's some of our international audience. We've got Elizabeth from Belgium, and then we've got Joyce joining us from the UK, and then Kadith for Peace is joining us from Denmark as well. This is what I was talking about. So our YouTube poll results that we just referenced, a little bit more spread out across the country and around the world. It's not as hyper-focused on Florida. As far as our, now switching over if we can, to our Facebook Live audience, we've got Teresa from Raleigh, North Carolina. We've got Denise from Tampa, Florida. We've got, let's see here, Jessica from Seffner, Florida. Lisa Jarrett from Tampa, Florida. Go Bolts. Let's see. We've got Susan from Inverness. We've got Christine from Miami. Georgette joining us from Indiana. A lot of folks joining us. I think it's, based on what I am seeing here, our Facebook Live audience is a little bit more Tampa Bay and Florida focused, while our YouTube audience is more spread out across the country and around the world. One more time, we'll throw up the poll results. 2,653 votes and counting. Do you support today's Supreme Court decision? 59% saying no, 41% saying yes. More of a coin flip on YouTube Live. We are ending now our Facebook Live stream here in just a moment. YouTube Live, we're going to stay here with you live all the way up through 12:30 when President Joe Biden will be addressing the nation in the aftermath of Roe v. Wade being overturned by the Supreme Court of the United States. For everybody watching, thanks so much, and we'll stay here with you live from a live feed outside of the courthouse, the Supreme Court of the United States. We'll listen in.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
The other is special.
Key.
Yeah, and we're trying to keep people away from coming here. You're gonna be on camera. You have to.
Right in here, you can see both.
I know, it was so nice out, and here it's like,
Great job.
You're very kind. I don't think, it's not my finest hour, but thank you.
Hi.
I frankly been surprised when you feel life influences younger. Ken, have they checked you in or not? MS, can you please check in Ken Delaney?
Are they switching control rooms? Well, I just went to Josh.
They don't know. Oh, the camera's not pointed at him. Yeah, we gotta get the camera in position. Yeah, that's the camera. It's pointed at him.
Thank you. Sit the spot. I'll drink the rest. Don't worry.
All right.
You take one side.
Oh.
Just do a small pan, a slow pan. Andy.
Guys, can you go around? You guys go around, please. Sir, can you please?
God, he's trying to Just having everybody go around, please. Thank you so much.
Small pan, and you'll see him
Can you guys just go around?
Copy?
He's going to help you in this corner. Oh, thank you, thank you.
Teamwork.
I just told them. Just slow.
The pro. Yes, I can. Hi. The pro-life folks, a lot of them left.
A lot of them left. They're marching. I don't know where.
Okay.
I can try and find out.
Just making sure you guys heard me. It's Ken.
Damn, smoke some more cigarettes, fuck.
It's gonna get ugly later.
Yeah, I know it's gonna get pretty.
Okay, they just switched to Andrew.
Guys.
Yes, can you hear me?
Area moving so people can get through.
It's not bad.
Oh my gosh.
No, I was Preston service.
Yeah,
He's helping. Guys, can we keep moving here so that way we can get our, so that way these folks can move through? Guys, could you step forward a little bit just so these folks can keep moving through? Thank you.
All right, they're in Pelosi.
All right.
They're in Pelosi.
Okay. All right.
It's okay, Andy. Just let people go.
Yeah.
You got it.
What a fucking stupid cunt.
What show are you attached to? No go, buddy. I'm doing hits for my network. Sorry. Sorry. I just got a call from some affiliate saying yeah, I'm not having any interest in that. Try to spend the money and put some money in there, you know what I mean? Or they can right, they can do all this above my pay grade. I thought that you were one of our people, so
Chris, jump up and do a mic check.
I gotta go. Bye. Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I don't have audio. Terrence, what's up, buddy? Sorry, man. Yeah, the problem is that people kept calling me. This is the best spot. Yeah.
We're wearing nice clothes. Yeah, we can't be in here. Oh my god.
I was gonna put on a tie. lot busier down here, a lot more people. Probably recent looks of it, 10 to 20,000 right off the bat with more to come. A lot of media from all over the globe, a lot of police presence, and people here every now and then you'll hear laughter break out, or prayer break out, or chants with profanities break out. However you are on the issue, decide to vote for somebody. I believe we've had some female Democratic congressmen show up and express their discontent with the verdict. This is a sunny verdict. This is not breaking news to anybody. We were waiting for this to come. The reason this happened is because we know who put these justices on that bench. His name is Donald Trump. Now this is coming to fruition. This is one of the main reasons he was brought in that office. So conservatives can say this is a nuclear victory for them. They've been working for this for decades. And I'm going to tell you, it's a celebratory atmosphere down there. People come in. I see a lot of younger people with pro-life movement expressing their ecstatic that they're really happy. They feel like, you know, this has been a long time coming. So you also have some other people on the other side of the issue who are in tears. They're really not happy. Down to there.
Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Audio check 1 2 1 2. 1 2 3. Everyone's good? All right.
Where? I heard it was clear, yeah, but I mean, this is like for the full head-on camera that you're plugged in. I don't want you to switch out for a cable. Where? Where the remote? Where's your remote? Where's your remote? Down there. Can you show this gentleman? That's what we're trying to do. It's just a split fix. Right there? Just a split fix. The ball. It should be lined up. Andy, are you going to be down when he starts? Okay, just checking. Watch out for that refugee girl. She's trouble. Happy Father's Day.
Stepping up back to the microphone here on WFLA Now. JB here with you live, folks, as we have a split screen, left side of the screen, live from the White House. President Biden will be speaking momentarily. Right side of your screen, live from outside the Supreme Court, where celebrations have taken place. Also protests, various demonstrations have taken place in opposition of Roe v. Wade being overturned by the Supreme Court of the United States. When President Biden comes out, we will, of course, go full screen to the left side of your screen, take you live to the White House to hear President Biden addressing the nation on this historic decision.
Minutes.
Today is it's not hyperbole to suggest a very solemn moment. Today, the Supreme Court of the United States expressly took away a constitutional right from the American people that it had already recognized. They didn't limit it, they simply took it away. That's never been done to a right so important to so many Americans, but they did it. It's a sad day for the court and for the country. 50 years ago, Roe v. Wade was decided and has been the law of the land since then. This landmark case protected a woman's right to choose, her right to make intensely personal decisions with her doctor, free from the interference of politics. It reaffirmed basic principles of equality, that women have the power to control their own destiny, and it reinforced a fundamental right of privacy, a right of each of us to choose how to live our lives. Now, with Roe gone, let's be very clear. The health and life of women in this nation are now at risk. As chairman and ranking member of the Senate Judiciary Committee, as vice president and now as president of the United States, I've studied this case carefully. I've overseen more Supreme Court confirmations than anyone today, where this case was always discussed. I believe Roe v. Wade was the correct decision as a matter of constitutional law and application of the fundamental right to privacy and liberty in matters of family and personal autonomy. It was a decision on a complex matter that drew a careful balance between a woman's right to choose earlier in her pregnancy and the state's ability to regulate later in her pregnancy. A decision with broad national consensus that most Americans of faith and backgrounds found acceptable, and that have been the law of the land for most of the lifetime of Americans today. And it was a constitutional principle upheld by justices appointed by Democrat and Republican presidents alike. Roe v. Wade was a 7-2 decision, written by a justice appointed by a Republican president, Richard Nixon. In the 5 decades that followed Roe v. Wade, justices appointed by Republican presidents from Eisenhower, Nixon, and Reagan, George W. Bush, were among the justices who voted to uphold the principles set forth in Roe v. Wade. It was 3 justices named by one president, Donald Trump, who were the core of today's decision to upend the scales of justice and eliminate a fundamental right for women in this country. Make no mistake, this decision is a culmination of a deliberate effort over decades to upset the balance of our law. It's a realization of an extreme ideology and a tragic error by the Supreme Court, in my view. The court has done what it has never done before, expressly take away a constitutional right that is so fundamental to so many Americans that had already been recognized. The court's decision to do so will have real and immediate consequences. State laws banning abortion are automatically taking effect today, jeopardizing the health of millions of women, some without exceptions. So extreme that women could be punished for protecting their health. So extreme that women and girls were forced to bear their rapist's child. With the child a consequence. It just stuns me. So extreme that doctors will be criminalized for fulfilling their duty to care. Imagine having a young woman have to carry the child of incest as a consequence of incest. No option. Too often the case. The poor women are going to be hit the hardest. It's cruel. In fact, the court laid out state laws criminalizing abortion that go back to the 1800s as rationale. The court literally taking America back 150 years. This is a sad day for the country, in my view. But it doesn't mean the fight's over. Let me be very clear and unambiguous. The only way we can secure a woman's right to choose, the balance that existed, is for Congress to restore the protections of Roe v. Wade as federal law. No executive action from the president can do that. And if Congress, as it appears, lacks the votes to do that now, voters need to make their voices heard. This fall, we must elect more senators and representatives who will codify women's right to choose into federal law once again. Elect more state leaders to protect this right at the local level. We need to restore the protections of Roe as law of the land. We need to elect officials who will do that. This fall, Roe is on the ballot. Personal freedoms are on the ballot. The right to privacy, liberty, equality, they're all on the ballot. Until then, I will do all of my power to protect a woman's right in states where they will face the consequences of today's decision. While the court's decision cast a dark shadow over a large swath of the land, many states in this country still recognize a woman's right to choose. So, if a woman lives in a state that restricts abortion, the Supreme Court's decision does not prevent her from traveling from her home state to the state that allows it. It does not prevent a doctor in that state from treating her. As the Attorney General has made clear, women must remain free to travel safely to another state to seek care they need. My administration will defend that bedrock right. If any state or local official, high or low, tries to interfere with a woman's exercising her basic right to travel, I will do everything in my power to fight that deeply un-American attack. My administration will also protect a woman's access to medications that are approved by the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, like contraception, which is essential for preventative health care, mifepristone, which the FDA approved 20 years ago to safely end early pregnancies and is commonly used to treat miscarriages. Some states are saying that they'll try to ban or severely restrict access to these medications. But extremist governors and state legislators are looking to block the mail or search a person's medicine cabinet or control a woman's actions by tracking data on her apps she uses are wrong and extreme and out of touch with the majority of Americans. The American Medical Association, the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists wrote to me and Vice President Harris stressing that these laws are not based on evidence and asking us to act to protect access to care. They say by limiting access to these medicines, maternal mortality will climb in America. That's what they say. Today, I'm directing the Department of Health and Human Services to take steps to ensure these critical medications are available to the fullest extent possible. And the politicians cannot interfere in the decisions that should be made between a woman and her doctor. And my administration will remain vigilant as the implications of this decision play out. I've warned about how this decision risks the broader right to privacy for everyone. That's because Roe recognized the fundamental right to privacy that has served as a basis for so many more rights that we've come to take for granted, that are ingrained in the fabric of this country. The right to make the best decisions for your health. The right to use birth control, a married couple in the privacy of their bedroom, for God's sake. The right to marry the person you love. Justice Thomas said as much today. He explicitly called to reconsider the right of marriage equality, the right of couples to make their choices on contraception. This is an extreme and dangerous path the court is now taking us on. Let me close with 2 points. First, I call on everyone, no matter how deeply they care about this decision, to keep all protests peaceful. Peaceful, peaceful, peaceful. No intimidation. Violence is never acceptable. Threats and intimidation are not speech. We must stand against violence in any form, regardless of your rationale. Second, I know so many of us are frustrated and disillusioned that the court has taken something away that's so fundamental. I know so many women are now going to face incredibly difficult situations. I hear you. I support you. I stand with you. The consequences and the consensus of the American people, core principles of equality, liberty, dignity, and the stability of the rule of law demand that Roe should not have been overturned. With this decision, the conservative majority of the Supreme Court shows how extreme it is, how far removed they are from the majority of this country. They've made the United States an outlier among developed nations in the world. But this decision must not be the final word. My administration will use all of its appropriate lawful powers, but Congress must act. And with your vote, you can act. You can have the final word. This is not over. Thank you very much. More to say this in weeks to come. Thank you.
President Biden calling on Congress to do what he says the Supreme Court failed to do with the Roe v. Wade decision today. JB here with you live, folks, on WFLA Now. President Biden, as expected, of course, speaking in favor of women's rights, speaking out against this decision by the Supreme Court. Of course, we've been talking about this now for the last several hours here on WFLA Now. We had political analysis from Evan Donovan. We've been featuring some of your comments. We've been featuring some of your poll results as well, trying to have a conversation with our audience here with you as well. This is a live picture from outside the Supreme Court here in our nation's capital. You can see, and if you've been watching this now for the last several hours, this has been a combination of a victory celebration for some and a protest of outrage for others here outside of the Supreme Court. You can see a lot of folks who are still looking down. This is a slightly delayed feed, so people still listening to President Biden addressing the nation here moments ago. He says that the battle is not over. He is calling on voters across the country to enact congressmen and women who will support a federal law in support of guaranteeing that people in this country have a right to abortions. Of course, there's going to be, and there already has been, a lot of individuals coming out, especially on Twitter, in support of Roe v. Wade's, the Roe v. Wade decision by the Supreme Court. We have all of that coverage for you on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. If you click on the link in the description on this video, it'll take you over to our website where we have all of our coverage, all the reaction. Of course, Florida being an interesting political arena. We have, of course, Democrats, we have Republicans, we have conservatives and liberals here in this state, as do many states, but our state always being a little bit more purple than some others in the country. So a wide-ranging array of different political opinions coming out across the state of Florida. We have all of those reactions, and more importantly, for folks that want to know how this decision impacts the state of Florida, for women out there who have questions about what this does now for them as far as their access to getting an abortion, all of our coverage, all those answers for you on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. We're now going to take you back out live to outside of the courthouse here. This is a live feed where we'll listen into some of the reaction to President Biden addressing the Roe v. Wade decision.
Women's lives are in our hands. Legal abortion on demand. Get up, get up, get loud. Get up, get up, get loud. And join this motherfucking crowd. And join this motherfucking crowd. Women's lives are in our hands. Women's lives are in our hands. Tonight. Sorry. Legal abortion on demand. Get up, get up, get loud. Get up, get up, get loud.
Oh, it's yours.
Yeah.
I guess it's
But as we've done for centuries, we will not back down. We will not lay down. We will not let this stand. No justice. No peace. 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 No peace. No peace. No justice. No peace. No justice. No peace. 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 Hands up. 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 My body, my choice. 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 What goody vouchers? What you veto? What you Thomas? What you Barrett? What you Gorsuch? Fuck you Kavanaugh.
Connor?
Fuck you
Trying to talk to you.
SCOTUS. Fuck you SCOTUS. Fuck you SCOTUS.
Tell him.
Rile him up. He doesn't hear anybody.
People we love are under attack. What do we do? Stand up, fight back. People we love are under attack. What do we do? Stand up, fight back. People we love are under attack. What do we do? Stand up, fight back. People we love are under attack. What do we do? Stand up, fight back. People we love are under attack. What do we do? Stand up, fight back. People we love are under attack. What do we do? Stand up, fight back.
1 minute. I need your position.
Stand up, fight back. Bodies we love are under attack. What do we do? Stand up, fight back. Bodies we love are under attack. What do we do? Stand up, fight back. Bodies we love are under
What are you trying to ask me?
What do we do? Stand up, fight back. People we love are under attack.
That's a
What do we
nay
do?
right now.
Stand up, fight back.
Hard time getting out of here to get somebody.
What do we do? Stand
How
up,
about
fight
you
back.
step up
People
and
we
give me a
love
shot?
are under attack. What do we do? Stand up, fight
Yes,
back.
I did. He ran away from his orders.
Stand up, fight back.
Trying to avoid that sign.
Get your rosaries
spoke. He called us the most anti-democratic decision that he has seen. What he said in this regard was the 75 million people that voted for Donald Trump for reasons like this. You can tell in the crowd right now they're not very happy. There's a pretty big discontent happening here with the slogans, the profanity. The photographer here is trying to keep some of the signs out of view from our viewers, but at the same time, there's a celebratory mood too. A lot of the people who seem to support this decision are just standing by idly, kind of making their presence known, but not as much outrage as on the left. The left is absolutely outraged right now. No peace! 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 I have not seen any clashes as of yet, but these people are in each other's faces. Make no bones about it. Some people have seen my mic cube come up to me. I don't hide from anybody. I'm proud to work for this network and the message that we bring to people. But at the same time, there are other people who have security here with them, and they have people with them, and they are a little nervous and on edge. But at the same time, you know, this is democracy. This is what happens when you vote the president in and he has the selections, the opportunity to remake the court. This is not the Supreme Court. Our streets! 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 Our streets!
Thank you. Oh, it feels okay. Oh, it's better. Good. Good, good, good. Thank you. We need a, I have a way wider lens. It's in the car because I thought it was going to happen on Monday.
Yeah. I was hoping.
I mean, this is pretty much all pro-rights at this point, right? Everyone else left?
No,
It's mature. I'm going to do a piano. Dinosaur head? Yeah, we need like a. So it basically goes from there. I know, it doesn't really work. I have a wider lens in the car. It's just my car is like, I had to park way the fuck over because everything was full. My back hurts again. I was good for a minute.
I'm not even
So yeah, right? I know. I jinxed mine 3 days ago and I said I was feeling better. Realbuto, R-E-A-L-B-U-T-O, Trisha with a Z, of Burke, Virginia, protests in front of the court. She is for rights. Big security. I saw somebody. Those are the ones I wish I didn't get them.
I got this decision must not stand. Picture with my phone last night. I was walking back to the bathroom.
I'm gonna have to go cool off soon, but I feel weird leaving.
Just maybe you gotta go to the bathroom.
I'm pretty sure we're not leaving until midnight, so.
Just if you gotta go to the bathroom. This ain't gonna end anytime soon.
I want to do one more piano. I can't even tell if this is in focus. Oh, there it is. It looks good, actually. This piano is cool. It's actually running.
No
Dobbs decision versus Jackson Health has just come in. The Supreme Court of the United States has ruled 6-3. The Constitution does not give you the right to have an abortion. That should be decided by the states. I have Cassandra with me from Ohio.
White man with privilege. No peace. No peace. No justice. No justice. No justice. No peace. 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 It is a beautiful sight to see so many people from different backgrounds, different nationalities.
Say again?
I'll put it in here and make sure we get it.
Yeah, whatever they're going to do.
Hello?
Walk through them.
It's been a while, but I'll send it to you. You have to text, I make sure you get it.
He'll do it.
Hey, John, make sure you grab that. I was just saying, so did you get this topic, Constitution and
this real American voice, God bless you. Thank you, brother. Hey, you want to do a quick overview? Oh, yeah, find somebody. I can talk to you real quick.
looking around for you. So have you come in past the police officer?
Oh, yeah. Okay, when are we going live? I'll give you know what side I'll be on. My name's Luke.
Yeah, I'm Bobby Joe. Hey guys, if you want to wait 5 minutes, we will live at 5.
Okay. I've never seen. I've seen a lot of people do paper dial. I'm trying to think of which ones are there. So there's that, and then there's. I kind of get mixed up with like that, like the OAN side, and the news thing. I'm not sure which dials are.
Yeah, no, we're doing well.
Yeah, we're friends with
Rise up for abortion rights! Rise up for abortion rights!
Mic check. Check 1 2 3. I'm hearing some guy on Rumble.
He doesn't hear anybody.
Oh, that's why they're great. Have somebody talk to me on the production end.
Everybody's staring. It should be a program. Stand by.
Well, as you can imagine, a lot of mixed reactions out here this afternoon in Washington, D.C. The court not breaking any news here, pretty much going right down the 6-point partisan divide that everyone in the country knows is going to happen. Why did they wait so long? I guess that's a question that people will have to answer down the road. But I'm out here talking with everybody I can find right now. We talk to women all day, so let's talk to some men. I have Bobby and Luke here with me. Luke, yeah.